Give me the bass. You say my man JD is on free base. The boy JD was a friend of mine till I caught him in my car trying to steal her out. To call a truce. The same motherfucker pulls out a deuce deep. Little did he know I had a loaded 12 gauge. Punch up the dead LA Times front page. Cause the boys in the hood. The boy JD and JD, I'm talking about our friend JD. Our friend JD who's been through the rigors of life. JD, Jefferson Davis Bonks, the Ted. Well, Jefferson Davis Vance, what a guy. What a guy, I'll tell you, you know, what a tough guy. He's really great. Oh, there's going to be hell to pay. People are going to suffer. J.D. Vance grew up on food stamps. He's a white guy. He didn't claim that he had it real rough, even though, you know, he went to an Ivy League college. Mr. White guy, you know, total privilege. Had a, you know, he liked to wear a lot of lipstick and shit in college, which is cool. I mean, hey, to each their own, man. I'm the last person that's against anybody being who they are. But what I have a problem with is when people try to hide or are ashamed of who they are, and at the same time project their hatred of themselves for it onto other people. JD, you know, JD, good old JD Vance. He just, you know, I'll tell you what though, man, I'll tell you what, he'll run for president probably in 4 years, and I can just say this from the bottom of my heart, my heart of hearts, my heart center. America deserves nothing better than to have JD Vance as their next president for 2 terms. You know what I mean? I'm thinking, you know, if he wins in 28, I'm going to get involved on his campaign for 32, and I'm the J-Do in 32, part 2, J-Do in 32. Yeah, you know, it'll be great. He's the savior. He's that white knight in purple lipstick and, you know, pink eyeliner. But, hey, I guess it comes, you know, hey, they say angels come in all forms, and so good old JD. He's so well-spoken. Oh, Mr. Trump is so great. I think Mr. Trump has done a great job. Oh, I think he's done a wonderful job. Oh, I think he's done a wonderful job. He's already got this idea. Dude, he can't. He'll change the subjects to start talking about the man. I mean, dude, you can only, and as far as food stamps go, I mean, the guy's been known to suck shit out of Trump's ass for $1 in food stamps because he was too cheap to go down to the, you know, the Rippy Mart and get himself a hot dog with a regular $1. So he had to go, you know, he went and got himself $1 on his EBT card that he's got. Man, what this guy really? But America, I'm telling you, America deserves a wonderful man like him to be the next president. J.D. Vance, in 2032, J.D. in 32. Yeah, he's a real man's man. What an honorable guy. You know, when you hear him talk, he doesn't sound like a weasel or anything. You know, he doesn't sound like he can't wait to get his tongue so far up Trump's ass that he can tell Trump what he had for dinner the night before. Of course, he would know that anyway because he was right there eating McDonald's with Trump. But that's neither here nor there, man. I mean, you know, hey, he does what he does, and he's such an honorable guy. But he never really talks about growing up on food stamps. You know, and if he does, I'm sure it'll be something like, oh, I pulled myself up by the bootstraps. You know, I got into a prestigious college. It wasn't had anything to do with white privilege or anything. Yeah, he was one of those morons leading the expedition for all the white anxiety that was going on. You know, they called it the white anxiety. White middle class, or white people in middle America thought they didn't belong anymore. Belong fucking where? You're all over the goddamn place. You know, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you know, I never met anybody that truly felt that way, but I'd heard about some, and Jesus, well, good. God damn it, the country can't, white people cannot become the minority quick enough for this country. I mean, I'm whiter than white, you know what I mean? I'm like white on rice. I mean, I'm whiter than vanilla ice at a Compton swap meet eating an ice cream cone. That's how stick-out white I am, eating a vanilla ice cream cone. But what I'm saying is, yeah, it can't happen soon enough. But good old JD JD, the boy JD was a friend of mine. Yeah, JD, I heard somebody go one time, well, JD's one of those white knights. He's one of those white hats. Okay. Well, I would really, one time, for a party, I would really love one time, I would love whatever in the hell that person had been ingesting just once in my life that made them, come up with that brilliant theory. The J.D. Vance. Oh yeah, J.D. Vance is the white knight. He's the white hat. Dude, they don't even fuck with our politics like that. It ain't like that, man. I mean, there's people and informants in that kind of realm, but they're not the president. They're not the vice president. They're not anything like that. I mean, those people at that kind of level, they're bought and paid for. And anybody would be. You'd have to be to get to that level. With, on campaigning and shit. I mean, it just goes with the territory, but dude, it isn't J.D. Vance. If J.D. Vance turns out to be the long-lost savior of everything, man, I'll get on a surfboard and I will surf down to the end of California where I live in Oregon, from where I live in Oregon, then I'll surf back up north to Seattle before I surf back home. I mean, really, that weasel... Oh, Mr. Trump, this, Mr. Trump, that. First of all, when somebody compliments somebody like that all the time, it means they got their head up that person's ass. Everybody's a mere human being. There is nobody worth that kind of praise that's ever walked the earth. Maybe Christ, that'd be about it. I mean, really, though, and he wouldn't want it. He'd be like, back off my tip on that shit. I mean, come on, man. The thing about it is, we're eternal beings. It's true, man. We're eternal and all that, but like in this incarnation of a lifetime here, anything could happen. You get cancer and die in 2 months. I mean, you could, you broke your leg, you wouldn't be able to get up and walk. I mean, so everybody's mortal and could be finished, bam, just like that. So there's nobody worth going, oh, they're this or that. No. You are your own person like that, man. Look within. You can praise people that you admire and, talk about them, but don't talk about them with a gleam in your fucking eye, man. There's nobody worth that. Unless maybe, I don't know, unless you're trying to get some or something, whatever, being sweet to your partner, but in private, there's nobody, they're just the most, to say the least. Oh, they're the least to say the most, more than likely. But yeah, good old JD, and that guy Mike Johnson, I don't know what the fuck his deal is either. Forget the politics thing. One thing you can't argue with, whatever side, if you're into that shit, that you fall on them, you can't argue with the fact that they're a couple of creeps. You know what I mean? Dude, they're creepy people. They just, look at them, the character, they're creepy. And you could say this or that about somebody else or whoever, that's just deflecting. I don't give a fuck about any of those people either, whoever that might be you would think of. But I know that, and those other people, they're not in any kind of a political power ship position right now, so who cares? But good old JD and Mike Vance and JD Johnson, how we change their names around. There you go. I mean, they're both the same. It's all the same. They're the same human being. I mean, really, all kidding aside, it wouldn't really matter because they're the same person. Same exact person. One wears glasses, the other one doesn't too often, that I've noticed. That's about it. One's got a beard, one don't, okay? I mean, they both grew up in a Bible Belt type of a situation. At least I think I know that Johnson did. Vance, I think he's from the Midwest. I don't know. But still, I mean, he wasn't from the streets, yo. I mean, he didn't come up the hard way, yo. Yeah, his family was on food stamps. Big deal. So most of the country is. Now and then. It doesn't mean that he had it really rough or anything, which I'll say, I've never heard him say that per se, but if he has, he's fucking lying through his teeth. Because he wouldn't be the way he was if he had grown up in an environment like that. He wouldn't be, he wouldn't be sucking his boss's ass. I mean, pardon the, you think that's crass, and I kind of do too, but he wouldn't be sucking his boss's proverbial ass every day, sucking it. Oh, he did this or did that, I understand you toe the company line and you say what's right when you're in situations, right? For working for people, but you don't fucking sit there and suck their ass like that. Because what it does is it belittles anything good that they might have done or may do. You just sound like you're sucking their ass again. Really? For $1 in food stamps, for like 95 cents off an EBT card. wonderful. I think it'd be really wonderful for the nation to have J.D. Vance as the youngest president ever, because he would be. Yeah, he would be if he'd be tied or right at the same age if he ran next election cycle and became president. Kennedy, I think, was his age. Clinton, Obama, I think, were 45. Vance would only be like 43 by then. So, I mean, it'd be wonderful. It'd be so wonderful to have JD as our president. It'd be so great. And I think I'm going to befriend a bunch of people on that side of the aisle and really get them jazzed up about JD. And make sure that he has a comfortable election running. Make sure somebody's, got the 411 on getting him his Maybelline lipstick and his eyeliner, which there's no problem with wearing all that. I have no problem with it. I'm all for everybody being open to who they are, and it's nobody's fucking business what they do or who they are. The only issue comes in is when you're a hypocrite about it and you fall into these conservative values, which aren't really that valuable. They're not much of a value. It's kind of a do as I say, not as I do kind of a thing with that. But old JD, purple eyeliner, pink eyeliner, purple lipstick probably is, I think, what it was. But he's such an he's such a pro same-sex or opposite-sex marriage guy. He doesn't like the same-sex marriage. He's towing that company line. Even though, dude, this guy was given head in college, and it's documented. It's documented for dirty long water. They didn't think he was cool enough to really share any legitimate weed with him, so they would get the long water from the parties that was left over, and they would hydrolyze it. They would hydrolyze it and rock it up for JD when old JD would come around with his wig on. They'd make sure he shaved his beard, though, because it would be prickly kind of, I guess. That's, rumor has it. I don't know. That's just what somebody said they thought. Of course, it's free to think whatever you want. You can think it. Yeah, so, that's just a rumor that flew by. Don't know where I heard it. Can't remember where I heard it from. But, it just somehow passed by my awareness perception that was kind of like his party thing. And that also, too, that they would also sell him, and he'd be begging for this. He'd beg for bags of stems and seeds. He'd be rolling stems in a joint and then put seeds in there, too. And as they popped and snapped, he loved the taste of them. He just loved it. Good old JD. We all love JD. It's time now. You can never start too soon. You can never start too soon because the midterm elections will be coming up, and then the next presidential ones. We got to get out there for JD. Get on the stump for JD. JD. And then hopefully he'll win. He'll be up for re-election, and we can have JD Part 2. Oh yeah, I think it'd be wonderful. I mean, I could think of no better gift for America. No better gift for the people of the United States, for our great nation, than to have JD for 8 years. Yeah. I think it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be wonderful to have him out there strutting and, doing the Ric Flair walk and going, woo. Yeah, but, good old JD. Yeah, well, he's made a lot of people happy. I was talking to a conservative today. I don't like to go there with politics much anymore, but they were like, they think that JD, of course, is going to win, and they think that he would trounce Michelle Obama in a general election. Dude, this guy, if they fucking tried to fucking fuck shit up, fuck with the ballots, sure. But you gotta be kidding me. In a straight-up election, after all the shit that's happened, you have to be sniffing burlap to think he'd beat Michelle Obama. She'd clean his clock with women. She'd clean his clock with African Americans. She'd clean his clock with Hispanics in this scenario. You know what I mean? And a lot of white women, and even the white suburban women that are kind of, were doormats for their husbands, are starting to kind of wake up a little bit and not listen to just vote who their husband thought should be the president. What a dumbass. Women, you're so much smarter than that. Why would you even fucking give your husband the time of fucking day about his political opinion? Much less go with it, unless it was something you vibed with totally. But they have, but they're starting to get with the program too, so, yeah, he would be trounced. And this guy, well, he beat her in a debate pretty good. Dude, she fucked him up 5 ways to Sunday in a debate. You know, it's all conjecture and it's all a big, you know, all that shit's an act anyway. But dude, you gotta be crazy. That would be because I told this dude, I said, yeah, because your opinion would agree in lockstep with everything JD said. You're not looking at it, and I got him finally to look at it like, I'm not looking at it like who you would want. I mean, I'm a big Miami Dolphins fan and have been for years, right? And when we played the New England Patriots when they were winning all those Super Bowls, dude, I'm not a fucking moron. Of course I wanted Miami to win, but I'm not a fucking, they're going to beat them. It's because of this and that. They really are better than the Patriots. They're going to win. I knew fucking better. I'm not a moron. I would have never bet on Miami to win against them. They did a couple times, but that was it. I mean, what kind of a fool would do that? But a lot of sports fans are that foolish, though. That's why I don't follow the illusion anymore. To, really that much at all. Because no matter how much you win, you're going to lose again. And even somebody like a team like the New England Patriots that won 6 Super Bowls in 20 years. They lost 14 of those years. They didn't win the goddamn thing. So it's a heartbreak. It's a deceiving game. And so it'd be like me saying, because I didn't like the Patriots, it'd be, oh, the Patriots suck. I hate them. They suck. Well, yeah, I don't like them, but they don't suck. I mean, they won, they will win shit hand over fist. 6 Super Bowls and the rest of those years, I mean, in worst case scenario, they made it a game or 2 before the goddamn Super Bowl. I mean, they were literally, 3 or 4 hands full of plays from winning, the Super Bowl for a goddamn decade and a half straight every year. So, they didn't suck. I couldn't stand them, but they didn't suck. Tom Brady's the greatest NFL player of all time. It's not even disputable. Everything's there. He's got 7 Super Bowls. That's one more than any other franchise has by themselves. He has every quarterback passing record there is. It could be because of this. You could say because of that or this or that. Doesn't, there's so much there, it doesn't matter. You can't look at it, well, yeah, he played at that particular field and the conditions were always like this, and if he would have had to play here, it would have been different, or if he would have, when you could say, well, if he didn't have all that protection like he did in New England or some shit, well, you could say that about any quarterback, though. Right, but you couldn't say it in the other reverse. You couldn't say, but not every quarterback could come into a system that is protecting him and do what he did. It wouldn't work. So you can't dispute it. And I don't like the fact that, I didn't like it either because I'm a Dolphins fan. They were one of our rivals. I wasn't a big fan of theirs at all. Right? But it is what it is, But people are they suck or, this or that, or, yeah, J.D. Vance is so much smarter than Michelle Obama. Bull fucking shit. Dude, who would you rather? You'd be an idiot. If you'd rather sit there, put it this way, if you hadn't studied real good for the test and you were going to do that unthinkable and cheat one time, and you had each one of them sitting to the side of you, dude, I'll tell you whose paper I'd want a copy off of it. It wouldn't be fucking Jefferson Davis Bonds. Unless... Well, no, I can't even say that. I mean, I don't think he could even put on lipstick probably as good as Michelle, but, he might be able to, give her a distant competition second. But, yeah, people think like that, though, and it's hard to get somebody to talk in a neutral standpoint to where they're looking at it from that, like, she's a dumb bitch, and she's... Well, that might be fine. That good, that could all, hey, I'll say to them that could all be true. That could all be true. But who, if you had a gun to your head, would you think is going to win? If all things being even, but then you get them running, and I don't understand that mentality. Because if it were me, I'd say, well, unfortunately, fuck, you're probably right, I don't like it, but yeah, but no, it's that your isn't gonna cut it though. So all we can do is keep moving forward, people, and hang in there and do what we do. But that would probably be. It would definitely be something America would surely would love to have as good old JD for 8 years. And I hope, for better or for worse, I hope it happens. Because either what it'll do is it'll prove me a complete fucking idiot or whatever. Not that but in that case I'd be glad to be wrong, right? I'd be glad to be wrong. If he come in there for 8 years and really did not unite the country under some fake bullshit pretense, but I mean, if people really of all walks of life, all sexual orientations, all three genders, all the races, if they all, en masse fell in love with him because he was doing the right thing, that'd be wonderful. But if that don't happen, it's just going to be because of the division, and then you get his ass in there, it's going to be a shit show because he don't have the charisma Trump does. He don't have that charisma. Say what you will about Trump, I'm not his biggest fan, but he has that charisma. J.D. Vance doesn't have it. J.D. Vance is a dweeb, a weasel, and that can't be debated. You can say, well, he's a nice guy. Yeah, but dude, look at him and the way he acts. Okay, he's not Trump. He does not have Trump's charisma. I think anybody that he supported them to would even agree with that. He doesn't. Okay, so that being said, and after all this shit, there's no way, all things being even, and they never are on the up and up, whether you believe it's this side or that side that does it, okay, and the whole thing's an illusion anyway, but all things being even, dude, she'd make him look like a dumbass in a debate. Let's just take a debate, for instance. She'd make him look stupid as fuck. He may be able to center himself and stay calm and just kind of, give little one-liner answers here and not completely look like a fool. I can see that. But her passion and everything, and her realness, that at least she can put out there, her act is a lot more real looking than his act to the majority of people. Well, I say majority more than wouldn't. You'd have, of course, people that were of that persuasion that were already stuck in that mindset and thought JD was just the most. Okay, but minorities and, women and, some white men, there's getting more and more, but not a lot, would, look at him like he's a fool. It's just kind of these middle-aged kind of white guys that like to have it, they like a strong man, an authoritative guy, and that's JD. I mean, boy, that's JD. JD is just everything you could ever want in a president, in a leader. Forget a president, in a leader for the world, for the whole wide world to look up to. There's JD. Boy, I'd be good at putting sound bites together for him. There's JD visiting with the school kids. Yeah, folks, it ain't really worth wasting a lot of time on, but yeah, I mean, it is what it is. The guy's a dweeb, straight up, and it can't even be debated, because this isn't about an opinion. He's a dweeb. And he's got a long way to go on his growth path. Right? But the problem is, why I would even care is because the guy can affect the shit that goes on here. Look at he's not somebody that's willing to negotiate. He's not somebody that's willing to play ball, unless he was backed into a corner or some shit and had to, then he'd be the first one to start sucking ass for it. But yeah, he's not anybody that you could trust. I mean, he's really not anybody that you could trust, and I don't give a fuck about anybody else. Anybody hears this might want to bring up that they're not irrelevant. I'm talking about Mr. Vance. We could go down the laundry list of people that live in the world, and that list would be billions long. So we're just talking about Mr. Vance, Mr. Jefferson Davis Advanced. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. But him and his talk tough. Oh, it's gonna get tough for people. But dude, he don't want to become president anyway. He would if he got thrust into it, but he doesn't. He knows better. He knows he's not. He's getting wealthy off this. He's another Dan Quayle. I mean, he's not as smart as Dan Quayle was, and the guy that misspelled potato. But he's not. I can tell you from following politics when I did for you, he's not as intelligent as Dan Quayle is, not by a long shot at all. So, but they're kind of one and the same, right? Just that kind of one-term vice president, and then, yeah, I mean, not only would the election have to be fucking rigged, I mean, it would have to be so severely, it'd have to be more rigged 3 times over than the worst either of the sides have ever accused the other of it being. He'd be wiped out. It'd be a landslide for Michelle against him. Against any other Democrat, I don't know. Right now, I don't know. I don't see any other. And Vance could have a good chance. There's a lot of stupid people still left in the country that would vote for him. But with Michelle Obama got out there, really, if she it would depend on, now, like if she really wanted and was in it because she wanted, oh, he'd be toast. Yeah, and it's not a matter of an opinion. You could say, well, I don't give a fuck what you think about Michelle Obama. I mean, you can live in your fantasy world where she's got a dick and all that, but that's fine with me. Everything you could ever imagine is true in some parallel reality. I mean, you're a tie-dyed giraffe crossbred with a rabbit in some reality. Everything you could ever imagine is true. So, whatever, but, I mean, she'd still kick his ass in a debate. Big time. The best he could hope for would be to look marginal. But I'm out. Much love.
Goodbye, J.E. We love you, J.E.